So today we are back with another color grading video. Now, this might be scary because the last time I did this, I targeted the Marvel fanbase. Oh boy, that comment section is nasty. So right off the get-go, I just want to preface that this video is not meant to be insulting the people behind the camera. The artists that spent their time color grading this film. This video in no way, shape or form is meant to be a personal attack. This is me, a young filmmaker, trying to express my love for film, but also trying to look at the films that come out today and go, that's not how I would have done it. It's a learning process. I don't profess myself to be an expert in color grading. I'm not a professional colorist. I'm a director, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, editor, cinematographer. But still, at the end of the day, this series of me fixing the color grades of recent movies is not meant to be a personal attack to the artists behind the camera, behind the screen, who spend their hours, their blood, sweat and tears trying to make the movies look as magical as they can. This is me, a young filmmaker, expressing my opinion and using the tools I have at hand, be they not be the most professional, because again, when I do these videos, I don't have the highest resolution files, I don't have the raw files. I'm using my set of knowledge, which may not be the most expert of knowledge but still, I'm someone with a passion of a dream. I feel like a director's job also too is to know like almost every facet of filmmaking and try not to essentially be an expert, but at least dabble in it. So, without warning out of the way, today's movie that we are fixing the color grade for is Wicked. Now, I just want to preface, Jon M Choose Wicked is a really good movie. It was one of my favorites of last year. It wasn't my favorite because, of course, Mon Ami, Denis Villeneuve just absolutely smashed it with Dune Part 2. I love Dune Part 2 so much, but Wicked to me was a pleasant surprise because I'd seen Wicked on stage in the West End years ago, but I didn't remember it. Like, musical fans go on about Wicked and they love and praise it, but I didn't remember it that much. The only thing I remembered from my experience watching Wicked was Defying Gravity. And the 2024 film was really good. I really enjoyed it. One thing I will praise too is that Jon M Chu is a very good director because he made this like 2 hour and 40-minute film feel like 2 hours. It felt very brisk, very to the point. And Jon M Chu is a really good filmmaker. I mean, one of my favorites of his is In the Heights. I think that film is really good. It's really enjoyable. It introduces the world to Anthony Ramos and Melissa Barrera. And something that In the Heights and Wicked share is the same cinematographer in Alice Brooks. And one of the things that we could say was controversial about the Wicked film was the color grading. Because you watch Wicked and that movie is full of color, but at the same time too, none of the color on screen pops because it's flat, it's dull, and it's grey. Why this fantasy musical is dull and flat and grey, I have no idea. And the thing that I found when taking this film into DaVinci Resolve and trying to alter the colours to make it look a bit more cinematic, a bit more colourful, give it a bit more flavour, was that for the most part, you kind of just have to just deepen the shadows, deepen the blacks, darken the blacks, turn it from like a dark grey to black, and the movie looks so much better. And as I mentioned earlier, the colour grading for this film caused a bit of controversy amongst the Wicked fanbase, purely because it was flat. It was dull. Like, I would not go as far as to say that this film is desaturated, but what I will say is that the film is just flat and a bit dull. Which is annoying because I feel like it really does hinder Alice Brooks' work as cinematographer. There's like 1 or 2 shots that are a bit flat in terms of the lighting, but for the most part, the film cinematographically, the way the camera moves and such, is very good. The images she captures, they're poignant, they're powerful. The only thing that's holding them back to just being good instead of being great is the colours. And I think one of the most ridiculous defenses the filmmakers came out with is the fact of, if we didn't make it look so flat and dull and grey, it wouldn't feel real. Like, what are you talking about? No! Do you know what fantasy film looks and feels real, even though it's bright and colourful and has deep blacks? The Chronicles of Narnia. Both of them, Prince Caspian and the first one, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. They are stunning films. When it comes to a fantasy-looking film, you want it to pop, you want it to feel magical and colourful. And although I have not seen this film in a very long time, Sam Raimi's Oz the Great and Powerful, the last iteration of The Wizard of Oz on screen before Wicked, that looked like a film, because knowing Sam Raimi it was, but even when Sam Raimi isn't shooting on film, he at least color grades his digital film to look like film, as seen in Doctor Strange 2. No, it wasn't. It was shot on the Red Epic. Okay, so that's what I mean. It's like digital film doesn't have to look flat and dull and grey. That is a weird recent trend in modern cinematography, at least in the 2020s. Everything has to look dull and flat. Now, there are two reasons I've seen online which prominently showcase why this is the case. One is the fact of everything now has some semblance of visual effects. And the best way to integrate your visual effects is to make the image flat, to make the lighting even, and so when you compose the things in post-production, it makes it easier to integrate into the scene. And the other one is that it's much easier to light everything in a flat, dull way. And that reason seems to be mostly the case, because I've seen some cinematographers, like the cinematographer for Gladiator 2 coming out, being like, oh, Ridley Scott is just a lazy filmmaker, and this style of filmmaking is lazy. You know, Quentin Tarantino even came out and said, like, oh, most cinematographers that shoot on digital are lazy because they don't want to light everything properly. And I kind of agree with that. So now jumping into DaVinci Resolve, we are going to color grade some clips from Wicked to make it look a bit more cinematic, give it a bit more sauce, make it look more filmic. But before we get into the color grade, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media. It's all linked down in the description. As I've mentioned, I'm an actor and filmmaker myself, so check out my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of E.F. Manar. Also, if you're interested, check out the link in the description to my Indiegogo campaign for my upcoming fantasy short film, The Singer's Tale. Any contribution, even if it's just £1, is greatly appreciated.
No one mourns the wicked.
No one mourns the wicked.
No one mourns the wicked. No one mourns the wicked.
Okay, so throughout most of the clips, what I've done is I've added an adjustment layer, and in that adjustment layer, I have added in the color space transform tool, and I've used the input space of the Arri Wide Gamut 3, because when you do a little bit of research, you see that Wicked was shot on the Arri Alexa cameras, and so by adding that, it renders the colors pretty much to what they should look like when shooting raw on the Arri Alexa. Again, remember, I don't have the actual like raw footage file, so I can't do anything like super in depth, but for like a basic filter, because that's basically what we're doing, we're adding like a filter to the footage, it does the job. Next, I then added some halation. There was no need to add excess glow because of what I normally do for most of my footage and such. But there was no need to, because one of the things about this movie and about this cinematographer in general is that Alice Brooks loves blooming. She loves everything to be backlit. You know, you watch In the Heights, you watch Tick Tick Boom, you watch this, there's a lot of backlighting, and we'll get to that when we get to Dancing Through Life. Then added a vignette to soften the image, and then some film grain just to add a bit of, you know, grit to the image. Okay, so also one of the things that I also added to the images is this kind of golden pink hue, because I saw this video on TikTok where they did a similar thing to me, where they recolor graded Wicked, and they raised a very good point where they said a lot of the reasons why the fantasy films from the early 2000s looked amazing compared to modern day fantasy is because they had this like gold and pink hue to their footage. That type of lighting just signifies to the audience fantasy, magic, and I completely agree, because the original color temperature is very neutral, very realistic, very flat, very white. Doesn't really pop, and I find by adding this golden pink hue, it makes the skin tones pop in a much more flattering way.
The wizard and I.
The wizard and I. Yeah, God, that just, it looks. Oh God, what is this ugly colors? Like, what are we doing here, Jon M, Alice Brooks? What are we doing here? Like, no, like you're on this nice cliff with some nice, you know, tall grass. The tall grass is a yellow color. Like, why is it not like sticking out? You've got these really nice looking white cliffs. Like, come on, let's make this image pop.
The wizard and I. The wizard and I.
The wizard and I. I'm not hydrated, so if I start singing along to certain clips, ignore me. I feel like Hugh Jackman and Les Mis right now, where I'm just trying to do a vibrato, but I've got like no hydration. A slave of the law. Now prisoner 24621. But you see what I mean by just adding this like little filter we've created? It makes the images just look nicer. Like that cliff top in the original clip looks so flat and boring. But when we add in the little LUT and stuff, it makes it look more magical.
What is this feeling so sudden and new?
I felt the moment I laid eyes on you.
And the next clip we're going to do is the opening sequence from Loathing, because for the most part, yes, it looks okay originally, but just deepening the blacks and you know, adding more contrast to the image, it makes the overall image pop way more.
What is this feeling so sudden and new?
Loathing, unadulterated loathing, loathing, unadulterated loathing.
Like, you can really tell the contrast between the warm lighting and our main characters.
There's a strange exhilaration. There's a strange exhilaration.
Now, the one section from Loathing that I feel like I can't entirely fix because the lighting itself is just flat is this sequence where, like, Galinda and Elphaba, they're, like, stick fighting and stuff. Like, the overall lighting of that image just looks flat and a bit dull. Like, that's not something you can entirely fix in post. That's an on-set thing. Like, you can't really fix the lighting here. Okay, so now we're gonna go and recolor grade my favorite sequence for Wicked, Dancing Through Life. Like, everything about the scene is so much fun. Like, the song itself is great, but Jonathan Bailey's rendition, in my opinion, is the best version of the song.
Dancing through life, mindless and careless.
The, like, spinning ladders in the library and such, it's so good. Like, visually, this is so interesting. Jon M and Alice Brooks, they cooked it. The only thing that's holding it back just a tiny bit is the color grading. Dancing through life, mindless and careless, make sure you're wearless, trouble is right. It's so good, it's so good, it's so good.
Dancing through life, mindless and careless, make sure you're wearless, trouble is right.
Now, adding in our filter over the scene, the reason why I feel like my recolor grade is a bit more visually pleasing is, again, that gold and pink light. It really makes the backlighting stand out a lot more, and it flatters the skin tone, because the original just plain white colors, it doesn't really, like, do justice to the skin tones of our characters. And also too, by deepening the blacks and the shadows, it just adds a bit of punch to the image. Follow me, you'll be happy to be there.
Come on, follow me, you'll be happy to be there. Come on, follow me, you'll be happy to be there.
Now, some of the shots that I found a bit difficult to recolor grade is the bit on the train where Elphaba and Galinda leave to go to the Emerald City.
Come with me. What? To meet the wizard.
What are you saying?
Come with me. What? To meet the wizard.
What are you saying?
I don't know, there's something about the way it's lit. I'm assuming too they shot a lot of this on a soundstage, or at least like a lot of the train as a visual effect, so it's not very flattering to look at. And again, this kind of showcases that the gold and pink lighting is not just the saving grace for this film. Like, you can't just instantly fix the film by deepening the blacks and adding in a rose gold like tint, because it's just... no, the image itself just isn't amazing to look at.
One short day in the Emerald City.
One short day in the Emerald City. Now, re-editing this clip from One Short Day. So, one of the things in the original clip is that, yes, there is color here. I'm not denying this film has color. But the colors on screen don't pop because the black values are too low. They're too flat. They're too low contrast. You deepen them and you add this rose gold tint. It just looks visually way more striking.
One short day in the Emerald City. One short day in the Emerald City.
Now, I think one of the places where this rose gold tint really adds to the film, and again, deepening the blacks and the shadows, it's the part in Defying Gravity where Galinda and Elphaba are standing by the window.
Just you and I defying gravity.
You look at the difference. The original lighting is, again, it's too white. It's not flattering in the sense of, like, it doesn't really, like, match the skin tones.
Just you and I defying gravity.
But you add the rose gold tint and you deepen the blacks and the shadows, and it's just way more flattering. It really adds to the warm feeling of the sun. I think it's sunrise, not sunset. Like, again, this, like, hero shot, originally, it doesn't pop. It's very flat. It's like, oh yeah, we have this kind of, like, really, like, hazy, flat lighting. It doesn't feel striking. You deepen the blacks, you add the contrast, and you also add the rose gold tint. That's a hero shot. That's our Wicked Witch of the West. Like, this is our big villain origin moment. This is, like, Elphaba accepting her role as the Wicked Witch of the West. This should be, like, big and punchy on screen. We should really be feeling the imagery. Originally, like, yeah, it's fine. It's just not punchy. But yes, that was me trying to fix the color grade for Wicked. Because, again, I like Wicked a lot. I think it's a good film. I think it's really enjoyable. I think Jon M cooked. And visually, from the overall like technical side of the cinematography, like the camera movement, the camera choices, the lens choices, Wicked is a good film. The only thing that's hindering the cinematography is the overall color grading. Minus like 1 or 2 shots because like, yeah, some of the visual effects aren't like superb and some of the lighting is just a bit flat. But overall, Wicked is a good film. It's just not a good looking film, but it's so close to being good looking. You know, it's a modern cinematography problem that was popularized by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sorry, Marvel fans, it's true. Because the Marvel movies are the most expensive movies ever made, but also too, they're some of the most popular movies ever made. It seems like overall the film industry has just gone, okay, that's going to be like the standard look for our big action blockbusters. But I don't know why, because they're just not visually interesting. But yes, that is how I would fix the color grading for Wicked. Let me know what you guys think about my changes in the comments down below. Again, be nice, my ego can only take so much. Do you agree with me in thinking that Wicked itself just needs a recolor grade, or do you like the original color grading? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, all the good stuff. Until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time. I've never actually tried that.